The unidentified signal emerges. The Galactic Federation's command station hovered above Sci-Fi Prime, a central planet of the Empire. It was a fortress of steel and energy, a place where war decisions were made and threats were crushed before they could rise. Admiral Zorvex, a veteran of countless battles, stood in the command center, watching the star maps. His reptilian eyes scanned the data as his officers worked around him. Then it happened. A new signal appeared on the long-range sensors. It was massive, far larger than any known battleship. The energy readings were off the charts, stronger than anything the Federation had encountered before. The sensor operator, a young officer named Krental, froze as his screen filled with warning signs. His claws trembled as he turned to the Admiral. "Sir, we have an unidentified warship entering Sector 12. It's huge." The command center fell silent. Every officer turned toward Krental, their expressions a mix of confusion and fear. Admiral Zorvex narrowed his eyes. "Show me." A holographic display flickered to life in the center of the room. A dark, hulking shape moved through space, heading straight for Federation territory. Its silhouette was unlike anything they had seen before, smooth, angular, and designed for war. "Scan it," Zorvex ordered. Krental's fingers danced over the controls, but his screen flashed red. "Sir, our scans can't penetrate its hull. No readings on weapons, shields, or even life signs." The Admiral's scales rippled with unease. No ship was supposed to be invisible to Federation scanners. Even the most advanced enemy warships left some kind of signature. But this, it was a ghost, a silent predator moving through the void. "Send a transmission," Zorvex commanded. "We need to know who they are and why they're here." The communications officer, a tall insectoid named Frick-7, activated the hailing frequencies. "Unknown vessel, this is the Galactic Federation. Identify yourself immediately, or we will consider you a threat." No response. Frick-7 repeated the message. Again, there was only silence. The Admiral clenched his jaw. "How close are our patrol fleets?" "Closest squadron is 10 minutes away, sir," an officer replied. Zorvex's tail twitched in frustration. That was too long. By then, the unidentified ship would have already reached the outer defense perimeter. "Prepare our defense turrets. If they don't respond, we will show them the consequences of ignoring the Federation." Just as he spoke, the unknown warship changed course. It was no longer heading in a straight line. It was now moving toward Sci-Fi Prime itself. Gasps filled the command center. A direct approach toward a core planet was an act of aggression. Krental's voice trembled. "Sir, they are on an intercept path with the planet. If they continue at this speed, they will enter our orbital space in less than 15 minutes. Zorvex's mind raced. Who were they? What did they want? No one had ever dared to approach a Federation core world like this. It was suicide. Unless they were powerful enough to not care. The thought made his stomach turn. "We can't wait for the patrol fleet," Zorvex said. "Activate planetary defenses. If they cross the perimeter, we fire." The command center burst into action. Red lights flashed. Alarm sirens echoed across the station. Defensive platforms locked onto the approaching vessel. Fighters launched from hidden hangars, streaking toward the unknown warship like a swarm of angry insects. Zorvex watched as the first wave of ships reached the unidentified vessel. His heart pounded in anticipation. Then something terrifying happened. The warship did not slow down. It did not send a response. It did not adjust its course. Instead, it vanished. 1 second it was there, a massive warship moving toward them. The next, it was gone, as if it had never existed. The fighters, now without a target, scrambled in confusion. Krental's eyes widened in terror. "Sir, the ship didn't disappear. It moved. It's now behind our defense fleet." The command center erupted in chaos. The ship had somehow jumped past their entire perimeter without a single warning sign. It was now positioned dangerously close to the capital planet. Zorvex's breath caught in his throat. No species had technology like this. A new transmission came through. A voice, deep and calm, echoed through the speakers. "This is the UNS Vengeance. We are here on our own terms." The command center fell into complete silence. The warship belonged to humans. And at that moment, Admiral Zorvex knew. The galaxy had just changed forever. The fear of the unknown. Admiral Zorvex stared at the screen, his mind racing. Humans. The name sent a ripple of unease through the command center. Humans were a minor species, barely considered a player in the galactic stage. The Federation had dismissed them as unimportant, a young race still struggling to expand beyond their home system. And yet, here they were, a warship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, bypassing their defenses like they were nothing. Moving faster than any known ship, jamming scans, and now it was in position over Zephyra Prime, one of the most protected planets in the Federation. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was power. Zorvex clenched his fists. Are we tracking their weapons? Krental, still shaking, worked the controls. Sir, we still can't get a proper reading. It's like their hull is reflecting our scans. Zorvex's tail lashed in frustration. Tell me what we do know. Krental swallowed. Based on its size and energy readings, it's a capital-class warship, larger than anything in our fleet. Its power output exceeds even our dreadnoughts. A deathly silence filled the room. A single human warship had more power than the entire Federation's largest battleships. Zorvex turned to his officers. We are the Galactic Federation. We do not let unknown forces violate our space without consequences. Charge our planetary defense grid. All surface cannons, orbital platforms, and fleet weapons are to target that vessel immediately. Vrick 7, the communications officer, hesitated. Sir, are we certain we want to escalate? We don't know their full capabilities yet. Zorvex's gaze hardened. And that is exactly why we must act now. We cannot allow an unknown force to hold one of our core planets hostage. Vrick 7 pressed a button on his console. Across the planet and orbital stations, weapons locked onto the UNS Vengeance. The warning klaxons blared as pilots prepared for battle. The Federation's forces outnumbered the lone human warship 1,000 to 1. And yet, something felt wrong. Something about the way the warship simply hovered over the planet, not attacking, not responding. Zorvex's instincts screamed at him. Why weren't they firing? Why weren't they moving? It was as if the humans were waiting for something. Then the voice returned over the comms. Federation forces, this is Captain Adrian Cole of the UNS Vengeance. You are making a mistake. Zorvex's claws dug into the console. You are trespassing in our territory. Power down your ship, or we will open fire. A pause. Then, Captain Cole's voice came back, calm, but with an edge of warning. You think your weapons will stop us? Fire, Zorvex ordered. The orbital platforms unleashed a storm of plasma, missiles, and high-energy beams, all directed at the human warship. The sheer firepower was enough to wipe out an entire fleet. Every officer in the command center watched as the attack closed in. And then, it vanished. The blasts, the missiles, the energy beams, all of them simply disappeared inches before impact. The sensors flashed red. Krental gasped. Sir, they have some kind of field. Our attacks are not reaching them. Zorvex's breath caught in his throat. What kind of shields can do that? A chilling realization swept through the room. This wasn't just advanced shielding. This was something beyond their understanding. Then the human captain spoke again, his voice even colder. I warned you. The UNS Vengeance moved. Not like a normal warship, it phased, shifting from one position to another in an instant. One moment, it was above Zephyra Prime. The next, it was directly in front of the Federation fleet, its dark hull blocking out the stars. Our turn, Captain Cole said. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Zorvex felt true fear. The human revelation. Admiral Zorvex stood frozen, his scales tightening as his mind processed what had just happened. The entire Federation fleet had fired upon the human warship. Not a single shot had landed. And now, the UNS Vengeance had moved with impossible speed, positioning itself directly in front of them. It wasn't running. It wasn't hiding. It was showing its dominance. The bridge of the command center was eerily silent, only the low hum of the holographic displays filling the air. Officers who had once believed in the unmatched power of the Federation now stood in shock, watching an unknown human warship render their greatest defenses useless. Then, Captain Adrian Cole's voice returned over the communication channel, calm, controlled, and chillingly confident. "Admiral Zorvex, we are not here to fight. But if you force our hand, you will regret it." Zorvex felt his claws clench. His species, the Dranlur, were a proud warrior race. They had conquered planets, crushed revolts, and established the Federation as the dominant force in this region of space. But now, standing against one human warship, his instincts screamed at him. Something was very, very wrong. "You expect me to believe you come in peace," he growled, forcing authority into his voice. "Your ship violated our space. Your presence is an act of war." There was a brief pause before Captain Cole responded. "No, our presence is a warning." A ripple of unease spread through the command center. Warning? For what? Zorvex exhaled sharply. He couldn't let his fear show. "You expect us to fear a single warship. Even with your tricks, you are outnumbered 1,000 to 1. We have the full might of the Galactic Federation behind us." Captain Cole chuckled softly. "Do you?" Before Zorvex could respond, the lights across the entire command station flickered. Screens glitched. Power conduits sparked. The massive holographic map of the fleet shimmered and distorted, then vanished. Panic spread across the bridge. "Sir," Krental shouted, "we've lost control of all defense systems. The planetary shields, THEYRE, OFF line." Zorvex's breath caught. "What?" The entire Federation defense grid protecting Decipher Prime had shut down, without a single shot fired from the human warship. Impossible. His mind reeled. They had over 200 defense satellites, shield generators, and orbital weapon platforms, now completely useless. And then, as if to twist the knife deeper, the screens flickered back on. But the Federation's fleet map was gone, replaced by something new. A detailed layout of the UNS Vengeance, displaying its exact position, power output, and terrifyingly detailed schematics of human weaponry. Zorvex's heart pounded as he scanned the data. No Federation ship had weapons like this. Some of the readings didn't even make sense. Impossibly strong energy shields, weapons capable of igniting entire atmospheres, stealth technology that made it undetectable to any known scanner. How? How had humans, a race that the Federation had dismissed as primitive, developed technology centuries ahead of them? Captain Cole spoke again, his voice sharp now, carrying a weight that sent chills through every officer present. "Your empire believes it is untouchable, that it holds the greatest military power in the galaxy. That belief is false." Zorvex gritted his teeth. "You think you can intimidate us? We are the Federation." Cole's tone darkened. "And that is exactly why we are here. You expand your borders. You conquer weaker species. You believe no one can challenge you. You have grown comfortable in your power." A pause. Then, his next words hit like a warhead. "But there is one thing the Federation has never faced before. A war against humanity." The command center fell dead silent. Zorvex felt his blood turn to ice. The implications of those words. No, it was unthinkable. Humans were supposed to be insignificant. The Federation had been watching them, tracking their progress. Their military was nothing compared to the great powers of the galaxy. But now one of their warships had shut down an entire planetary defense network without firing a single shot. One ship. One. Zorvex swallowed hard. If this was just a single human warship, how many more were out there? The show of power. Admiral Zorvex struggled to keep his breathing steady. The command center was dead silent, except for the occasional beep of malfunctioning systems. His officers stared at the screens in disbelief, their confidence shattered. A single human warship had disabled an entire planetary defense grid. Not with brute force. Not with overwhelming numbers. With technology beyond anything the Federation had ever seen. Zorvex knew he had to act fast. If he hesitated, fear would spread through his fleet like a disease. He couldn't allow that. He straightened, forcing authority back into his voice. Humans, you may have tricks, but you are alone. Do you truly believe you can stand against the full might of the Federation? The voice of Captain Adrian Cole returned, calm and confident. We don't need to stand against your might, Admiral. We need only to show you how fragile it truly is. The moment he said it, something happened. A new warning alarm blared across the command center. Krental, still shaken, frantically checked his console. His eyes widened in terror. Sir, our ships, our entire fleet. Zorvex turned sharply. What about them? Krental swallowed hard. They'd lost power. Gasps filled the room. Zorvex's head snapped back to the main holographic display. His entire fleet was drifting. Every battleship, every cruiser, every fighter, all of them. Engines, offline. Weapons, disabled. Shield generators, dead. His entire fleet, hundreds of warships strong, had been rendered powerless in an instant. By one ship. By one human warship. Zorvex felt his throat go dry. How? Krental shook his head, his hands shaking over the controls. I don't know, sir. It's some kind of energy field. It's disrupting all of our systems. I can't override it. The weight of the situation crushed down on Zorvex like a black hole. The Federation had ruled through fear. Their fleets were symbols of absolute power, their technology unmatched across the stars. They had never lost a war because no one dared to challenge them. But now, the Federation's might had just been erased like it was nothing. Cole's voice came through the speakers again, firm but not mocking. We could destroy you right now, Admiral. Every single one of your ships, every planetary defense station. We could reduce your core world to ashes. Zorvex's claws dug into the control panel, but he said nothing, because he knew it was true. But we won't, Cole continued, because we are not like you. We do not conquer. We do not enslave. We do not rule through fear. The words hit harder than any weapon. Cole let the silence stretch before delivering the final blow. We are humanity, and we are watching. And just like that, the power returned. The warships came back to life. The planetary defenses reactivated. The systems flickered, rebooted, and functioned as if nothing had happened. It was as if the humans had never been there. Except for the cold, undeniable truth now seared into every officer's mind. The Federation was not the dominant force in the galaxy anymore. Zorvex's hands trembled. He had never feared another species before. But now, he was afraid of humans. And worse, he knew the rest of the galaxy would be too. The Galactic Panic. The moment the Federation's fleet regained power, a single message was sent from the command center. A high-priority, encrypted transmission that spread across the Federation's core worlds like wildfire. The content of the message was simple. A single human warship had just rendered the Federation's greatest fleet powerless. Within hours, the news reached every major power in the galaxy. The Council of High Races. Emergency meeting. On Varlock 3, the capital world of the Federation, the High Council convened in an emergency session. The chamber, a grand hall of towering pillars and floating holographic displays, had never been this tense. Representatives from every major species sat in their hovering thrones, their expressions ranging from disbelief to outright fear. The Supreme Chancellor, an aged, four-eyed Volor, slammed his clawed fist onto the podium. A single ship? You expect us to believe that a single human warship crippled an entire Federation fleet? Admiral Zorvex, still shaken from the encounter, bowed his head. Chancellor, I was there. I saw it happen. The chamber erupted into chaos. One of the council members, a bulky, armored Drexian warlord, bared his fangs. The humans were supposed to be weak. We scouted their worlds. Nothing they had could threaten us. A sleek, insectoid Vorith diplomat hissed. Clearly, our intelligence was wrong. A representative from the Taveri Empire, a race known for their cold calculations, adjusted his robes. This changes everything. If humans possess such power, we must rethink our entire military strategy. The Supreme Chancellor's voice boomed across the chamber. We need answers. How did humanity develop this technology? Are there more of these warships? Zorvex hesitated before speaking. We don't know, but the humans made one thing clear. He looked around at the gathered leaders, his voice grim. They are watching us. A chilling silence followed. The implications were terrifying. For centuries, the Federation had been the undisputed power of the galaxy, expanding its borders, subjugating weaker species, and ensuring its dominance through sheer military strength. But now, for the first time, they were powerless. For the first time, they were being watched. Across the galaxy, reactions. News of the human warship spread faster than the Federation could control it. On war-torn fringe worlds, rebel factions who had once feared the Federation now saw hope. On conquered planets, whispers began. What if the humans are different? In the black markets, information brokers sold what little they knew about the human warship for fortunes. And in the hidden war rooms of rival empires, leaders sat in silence, rethinking everything they had believed about humanity. A frightening question. The High Council meeting continued long into the night. The debates, the panic, the endless speculation, it all boiled down to one question. A question no one dared to speak, but one that haunted every leader in the room. If one human warship could do this, how many more were out there? The betrayal and the human response. In the wake of the human warship's terrifying display, the Galactic Federation faced an unprecedented crisis. Panic spread among the ruling elites, and fear whispered through the corridors of power. But fear often leads to desperate actions. The Federation Council, after hours of heated debate, reached a grim conclusion. They could not allow humanity to roam freely. A secret order was given, one that would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The ambush begins. The Galactic Armada, a force of 200 warships, lay in wait near the shadow of a dying star. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in a single operation, a trap designed for one purpose: to capture or destroy the UNS Vengeance. The Federation could not afford to negotiate. They could not afford to show weakness. They had to act. Admiral Koth-Ver, an old warlord with no tolerance for failure, stood on the command deck of his dreadnought. His blood burned with the rage of humiliation. The Federation had been embarrassed by a single human ship. Tonight, that humiliation would end. The trap was simple. The Federation sent out a distress signal, carefully altered to sound like a stranded transport ship under attack. They knew the humans would come, and when they did, they would be surrounded by 200 of the most powerful ships in the galaxy. The UNS Vengeance takes the bait. The distress signal reached Captain Adrian Cole aboard the UNS Vengeance. The human warship, still deep within uncharted space, had been monitoring Federation movements from afar. They knew the aliens were panicking. But the message: a civilian transport ship under attack, its crew begging for help. Cole knew it could be a trap. But if it wasn't, if innocent lives were at risk, he made the decision. Set course. Engage stealth protocols. We'll see if this is a real rescue or something else. The trap springs. The UNS Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace, its sleek black hull emerging near the dying star. Captain Cole immediately scanned the area. No civilian ship, no distress beacon. Silence. Then, the void itself came alive. Hundreds of warships uncloaked at once, their weapons locking onto the lone human vessel. A deep, growling voice echoed over the comms. "You have nowhere to run, human. Surrender your ship, or be destroyed." Admiral Koth-Ver leaned forward, his reptilian eyes burning with hunger. The Federation would have its revenge tonight. A moment of silence passed. Then, Captain Cole's voice crackled through the speakers, calm, unshaken. "So, this is how the great Galactic Federation operates. Lying, trapping, attacking under a flag of false distress." Koth-Ver sneered. "You are a threat to the order of the galaxy. We will not allow your kind to disrupt it further." Another silence. Then, Cole chuckled. "You really thought this would work?" Admiral Koth-Ver's sneer faded. What did he mean? Then, his ship started shutting down. One by one, engines failed. Weapons went cold. Shield generators overloaded. All across the fleet, officers screamed as their vessels went dark, just like in the last encounter. But this time, the humans were not holding back. The human response. For precisely 5 seconds, the UNS Vengeance simply floated in the void, untouched, undisturbed. Then, it moved. Not like a normal ship. Like a ghost. 1 second, it was in the center of the ambush. The next, it was behind the Federation's command dreadnought. Captain Cole's voice rang out. Cold. Unforgiving. "You made a mistake tonight, Admiral." The UNS Vengeance unleashed its power. Not through destruction. Not through overwhelming firepower. But through control. A massive pulse of energy rippled from the ship, spreading out like an invisible tidal wave. Federation ships were paralyzed, their systems hijacked by forces they could not comprehend. Admiral Koth-Ver watched in horror as his ships, his mighty fleet, turned against him. Weapons rerouted. Targets reassigned. Shields overloaded, burning out. Then, one by one, the Federation warships began firing on each other. The ambush had turned into a massacre. Not a single shot came from the UNS Vengeance. The Federation had destroyed itself. And then, just as quickly as it had arrived, the human warship vanished. Admiral Koth-Ver, barely alive on his crippled dreadnought, could do nothing but stare into the void. The humans had sent a message. Not in words, not in threats, but in actions. A galaxy changed forever. The survivors of the failed ambush returned to the Federation's core worlds broken. They did not speak of battle. They did not speak of war. They spoke of a force they could not fight. They spoke of ghosts in the void. They spoke of the end of their era. For the first time, the Galactic Federation understood the true weight of their mistake. They had tried to betray humanity, and humanity had shown them why that was a mistake. The final warning. The Federation was in ruins. Not physically. No planets had been bombed. No cities burned. No grand fleets reduced to ash. But something far worse had happened. The Federation's power, its very foundation, was broken. A single human warship had torn through its most elite fleets, rendered its war machines useless, and walked away untouched. Now, across the galaxy, the whispers had become roars. The Federation is not the strongest anymore. The humans are beyond our understanding. They hold power we cannot stop. And worst of all, they are watching us. A last desperate act. The Supreme Chancellor of the Federation, once the most powerful figure in the known universe, sat in his war room, his claws tapping against the polished obsidian table. The other high-ranking leaders of the Federation stood around him, their faces pale, their confidence shattered. Admiral Zorvex, still recovering from his last encounter with the UNS Vengeance, spoke in a voice that barely concealed his fear. We cannot win a war against them. The room fell silent. The mighty Federation, which had once crushed rebellions, conquered entire star systems, and brought entire civilizations to their knees, had just admitted the unthinkable. They could not defeat humanity. Not now. Not ever. A cold shiver passed through the gathered leaders. For centuries, they had believed themselves untouchable. Their fleets were the largest. Their technology was the most advanced. And yet, a single warship had proven them wrong. The Chancellor's voice was hollow, his confidence gone. What do we do now? No one answered, because there was only one answer left. They had to surrender. Not in the traditional way. Not by raising white flags or kneeling to humanity, but by accepting a terrifying truth. The Federation was no longer the dominant force in the galaxy, and if they wanted to survive, they had to stop treating humanity as an enemy. The final transmission. In a final act of desperation, the Federation Council sent a transmission. Not a declaration of war, not a demand for negotiations, but a plea. It was transmitted on every major galactic frequency, sent in every known language, directed to every power in the universe. A simple message. Humanity, we acknowledge your power. We understand our mistake. We will not stand against you. We only ask that you grant us the right to exist. A silence followed. And then a response came. The voice of Captain Adrian Cole, speaking not just to the Federation, but to the entire galaxy. Humanity does not seek war. The weight of his words pressed into every corner of the known universe. But if you threaten us, if you seek to control us, if you attempt to betray us again, a pause so heavy, so absolute, that it crushed the breath from the Chancellor's lungs. Then Cole's final words came. You will understand what true war looks like. The transmission ended. The galaxy held its breath. And for the first time in history, the Galactic Federation surrendered without a single battle. A new era begins. From that day forward, the galaxy was forever changed. The Federation still existed, but it no longer ruled. It became a government of whispers, of caution, of silent fear. Every decision was made with the knowledge that humanity was out there, watching, waiting. Other alien empires, once eager to challenge the Federation's might, rethought their strategies. Some sought alliances with humanity, desperate to avoid conflict. Others simply stayed out of their way. Because no one wanted to find out what happened when humanity stopped holding back. The UNS Vengeance disappeared into the void once more, its mission complete. But the lesson it left behind would never be forgotten. The final words of the Galactic Federation's surrender archives. Humanity does not conquer. Humanity does not seek to rule. But the moment you decide to stand against them, you have already lost.